What's going on, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes are back with another one of the superstars from the sport. It's Eric Nicksick, Xtreme Couture General Manager and one of their top coaches out there. Also, folks, he is up for Coach of the Year in 2023. So let's get that out of the way. Give him some love, man. The guy is out there every week and grinding. He's away from his family. He's traveling. He's in big fights, like the Strickland title fight coming up, like the one happening in Saudi Arabia. It's crazy. Welcome back, Eric Nicksick. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Miss you guys.
Yeah, man. Good to see you. Good to see you. So congrats on that nomination. I know you've racked up a few along the way, and hopefully you get this one too, man. So it'd be well deserved for sure.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
All right. So Eric, just to kind of catch up a little bit, it's because you juggle so much that I want to ask you this, but what is your role with Team Ngannou? Because as that fight is going to happen in October, you also have to leave to Australia, and that's not an hour trip on the Southwest Airlines or nothing like that. So what officially have you guys huddled up on, and what are your responsibilities on Team Ngannou?
Like right now I'm like the third guy in, so which is pretty much by design. I've been gone, I've been traveling. I make it to about half the practices during the week, just mainly because I've been on the road and so busy. And then Francis is practicing at night, so I'll get there around like 6 o'clock, and then I'm usually out of there by 7:30 to get home and get Knox ready for bed and get be able to hang out with my son for like 30 minutes or so. So all the boys are out in LA right now. They're getting the work in. I got Sean Strickland coming up. So until like I get through this regimen of fights, I won't be as involved. Dewey's really doing a lot of the legwork right now, pretty much all the heavy lifting, So but it's been good, man. Been able to make all the sparring sessions, and really camp started to really jump in last Monday. So, I'll get through this Australia fight, and then I'm back home, and then, Ige will fight here. We got a couple guys on the Vegas card. I think I have one more travel in October, and then it's off to Saudi for me.
Mm-hmm. So Dewey Cooper, and I imagine when you said you're number 3, is Tyson number 2, Dewey Cooper's 1, or vice versa, or something like that? Or what's the deal there? Or is there another coach that we don't know about?
we still don't know, bro. Like he wanted to bring on a boxing coach, and that still hasn't happened. So, to be honest with you, I don't really know what their plan is on a lot of these things. I'm on a group chat, email, and things, or WhatsApp. So. The practices are at this time. I know that, and where to be. And really, Dewey's been doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So, God bless him. He's been taking all the blunt work and getting beat up by Francis every day on the pad. So it's been nice for my body to take a little break from that.
Mm-hmm. All right. What about what happened a few weeks ago with Teddy Atlas? He says there was some confusion with what he thought might be a role on his team, or maybe consulting or whatever. Were you caught up in that by any chance, or?
I saw what he said, but I wasn't in any of the discussions. When we sat down and kind of listed out a group of people that we thought would be, relevant, or somebody that we thought that would benefit for Francis, Teddy Atlas was obviously on that list. But I was in zero communications with the negotiations or communication on how that was going to go. From my understanding, a lot of people don't know this, but Tyson was only here for 2 days, and it wasn't like this is going to be our trainer, this is going to be our coach. I think that kind of got blurred a little bit. I think he was going to be a part of some of that stuff. And then Teddy had offered to come out and do a trial and see how everything went. But Tyson was already scheduled to come out. Teddy was going to come out, but I guess he saw that Tyson was there, and however the mix of words was that he was going to be our trainer. I felt like Teddy kind of jumped the gun on that and like went off on his YouTube channel saying that he felt like, he was strung along. So again, I'm paraphrasing. I wasn't involved in any of these conversations. I don't know how any of that stuff went, but I was also kind of taken away by it. I was like, oh, well, I don't think anything was ever decided. So I think he's kind of jumping the gun on who we've picked to be the coach, So again, I'm all new to this boxing world stuff. So right. At the end of the day, Teddy Atlas to me is one of the best to ever do it. I love the guy. I love being around him. I would have loved to have him involved, but again, it wasn't my choice.
Are you have you presented a formal game plan at all? Like, do you have a role that has nothing to do with that, or have you actually dissected Fury and then presented that to Francis and says, this is what I think are paths to victory?
I have, I've talked to a lot of my friends in the industry on, before I presented anything. Like I talked to Chris Algieri for quite a while, just people that I know and trust within the industry, and guys that are more prevalent in boxing, and just pick their brains, just wanted thoughts and ideas, and kind of what my mindset was in the situation, and then running checks and balances with them. Hey, what do you guys think about this? How do you think about that? And I presented those things to Francis and the team, and I brought up sparring partners and other bodies I feel like would be good and things like that. But I haven't really sat down, and we haven't really gone over like X's and O's. There's been ideas and thoughts that I've kicked around his way that he's been really receptive to. And I think just understanding like, hey man, if we're going to go out and try to outbox Tyson Fury and, out jab this guy and out, footwork this guy, I think we're at a loss. So I just feel like our approach needs to be a little bit more unpredictable and do things that we maybe are more relevant to within MMA that we've been working on, in his MMA career, for example. So that was my thoughts, and he was understanding and receptive to what I was trying to bring up. And whether he uses it or not, we'll see. But I feel like some of that stuff could work.
This past weekend, you were part of Team Tavares. He had lost 2 in a row, and then he just beat Chris Weidman. Fun fight. Great fight to watch. Almost got to finish there with the leg kicks. But I started thinking, I go, for a guy that's done this for so long like you have, and you've been in so many fights, all the way up to title fights, compare a guy that's won, let's say, 20 in a row, and he wins yet again. Obviously, if you're part of it, yay, right? Great. Everything's going awesome. But compare that to also being there for someone that has to shake off a losing streak, and then they win. I'm sure there's some euphoria to that, but compare, I guess, the feelings of the two, like, helping someone get out of a bad spot and back into the W column where now things are going forward versus the one where it's, someone's just on a roll.
Yeah. You guys know my relationship with Brad, and it's very sentimental. My relationship with Brad runs very deep, Brad's really one of the main ones that gave me my start in coaching. He was a guy that had me in his corner well before, I probably deserved to be in a corner, but he saw something in me at a very early age or very early in my career, that I'm very loyal to, so when Brad wins or loses, man, it hits me differently. And, this fight in particular, I wasn't able to make the Bruno Silva fight because I was in Hawaii. That one hurt, being able, having to watch my one of my best friends fight a fight without me being there. So being back involved in the Weidman camp was important for me, and going out to get a win was extra important. So it was great to see him go out and execute the game plan. But I think the one thing that really stands out to me, guys, is just how classy Brad is, man. Like I'm honored to be a part of, his camps. I'm honored to be a part of his journey, just the way he carries himself, the way he upholds himself as a fighter and as a human being. So definitely when Brad fights, man, I carry a little bit of different weight. Going out and get that win was extra important for us, though.
That was great. And that's the team captain, right? I'm sure there's a different energy in the gym that brings when the captain's on a winning streak here, or getting a win. Sorry. I do want to bring something up about Francis Ngannou, and I want to see if you guys can maybe co-sign a little bit on this. Obviously, this is a mixed martial artist going over to boxing, right? Your gym has actually been on the other side of this. Not very many gyms have, but Randy Couture fought James Toney, right? And I'm sure all the way till the very end, even though James Toney had 0 MMA experience, it was still probably pretty frightening, right? I mean, there's probably something still in your stomach going, all he's got to do is land that shot, right? So that being said, what do you think the Fury camp feels? Do you think they're overconfident, or do you think they're smart enough to kind of still feel that what you guys felt in the Toney and Couture fight?
I mean, I don't think Tyson's overlooking Francis at all. I don't think that. I think he realizes, this guy can end your night with one clean punch, and I would imagine that they're just trying to, neutralize the right hand and, good footwork and stay off the ropes and things like that. So, this guy's the best to ever do it, and in the heavyweight division especially. And so I don't think by any means he's overlooking Francis, but at the end of the day, man, like when Randy fought Toney, I just remember it was like the whole game plan was low single, man, just get down there, get a hold of that guy's leg and get him to the ground, So I can imagine, Tyson just, implementing a long attack and utilizing his jab, utilizing his footwork, and just try to neutralize that right hand of Francis and, try to make it a long night for him.
I want to talk a little bit about a certain aspect that goes into coaching that a lot of people don't realize. Can you talk a little bit about the wear and tear that a fighter can create on a coach? Just holding pads, mentally switching from game plan to game plan, back and forth. What does this do to you, man, as a person, Eric?
It's tough. It is tough. Body wise, we'll start there. My right shoulder is completely bone on bone. I went to the doctor about a month ago, and I would have to get a complete shoulder reconstruction. They said my shoulder is like a 7-year-old, shoulder. So, and that's not in the cards. I don't have the time to get shoulder reconstruction. I have neck issues, neck impingement issues that, limit me from really training a whole lot or doing a whole lot of anything. My left knee's completely torn from, I don't think my ACL, but I know my meniscus is, and that was from Brad Tavares from eating calf kicks, over the years, some working on perfecting things. So, yeah, man, that's the nature of it. And I feel like that's the hard part for me is I'm very hands-on. So when I'm holding pads or I'm doing certain things, I like to be in there. I like to see what we're throwing or what we're catching on the mitts. But I'll be 44 this year. I don't know how much longer my body's going to be able to hold up to keep doing it. So I think being able to pivot and be smarter and kind of, how am I going to be able to transfer that over? The older I get will be a huge task. But as far as like the game plan stuff goes, I'm very open with my fighters as far as, trying to understand their styles and how I can help fit my style or what I look for or what their style might fit puzzle piece wise, we always say like meat and potatoes, like certain guys are gonna have great meat and potatoes. Brad, for example, fast jab, great low kicks, great takedown defense. Okay, well, here's some elements that I feel like we can create side dishes for, and how do we build off of those things that you're already really good at? And then outside of camp, how do we build on the things that, maybe we're not as good at? And how can we use those things, utilize those things outside of camp, build on them, make them better, and then we can implement them in your next game plan or your next fight. So, certain guys are great at that stuff. Danny Ige, Brad Tavares, Kai Kamaka, Jeremy Kennedy, the guys that I really spent a lot of time with. I feel like you've seen their growth and their evolution over the years because they stay within a system and they stay within a belief process for all of us to always continue to grow. Even if it means going to train at other places for a few weeks, I'm big on that. Go train with Trevor, go out to go see John Crouch or go do things to step outside your comfort zone and learn from other coaches. I think that's also an important element in keeping things fresh with these fighters as well.
On the same topic of coaching, you got Sean Strickland coming up, right? And for a long time, Sean was kind of known, and he's said it himself, as a guy that just doesn't really listen to his coaches. And little by little, that feels like that's been changing a little bit now that he's kind of got a stable team. He's got the same guys in his corner. How do you feel like Sean has been receptive to coaching now? Is it any different?
It's been night and day. It really has. And, I think for Sean, it was an understanding that he almost, I wouldn't say like he had abandonment issues or anything like that. I almost felt like he was predisposed to being like, okay, well, I'm going to be at this gym for a certain amount of time until it runs out or until I wear out my welcome and then I'm going to move on to something else. And, for me, I think just giving him some tough love. There was a time where he was training a lot of Xtreme Couture, going back to California, mixing it in between Syndicate, bouncing around a bunch of different gyms. And then, then he was primarily at Syndicate. Then he left Syndicate and called me and he's like, can I come back to Xtreme Couture? And I was like, bro, I never kicked you out. Like, you don't have to ask to come back. Like, we've been friends. I've known Sean since probably 2016. And I'm like, Sean, you're always welcome in my gym, bro. All I ask is you follow the standard that we ask for everybody, myself included. Show up on time, be prepared, have the right gear, be a good teammate. It's very minimal, but those things I think have a bigger ripple effect on what goes on with your career. Not only that, but being a good teammate. And not only has he upheld that standard, but follows that standard, he upholds that standard. He really does a great job in the room. Like, this guy will be at his own sparring, come back and watch the other sparring just to be there to watch the other guys and help the other guys and try to help coach the other guys. When he beat Abus, he was right back in the gym that same week to help Brad Tavares get ready for his fight. So I think over the years he's understood, like, hey man, I know this is an individual sport, but we're only as good as the team we surround ourselves with. And he was really lived by that. And, it makes us all better.
The mental side of the game, especially I think here, might play a little bit of a role. And I want to know, as far as a coach, what you feel is good and what you feel is not. Because with Israel Adesanya, that's a guy that sometimes people get in his head, and sometimes it works in the other guy's favor, and sometimes it works in Israel Adesanya's favor, right? He gets even more pissed. But you can tell that sometimes things get to him. Do you feel like the mental game, what they're going to say back and forth, do you feel like that'll have some good maybe in this fight? You think it'll have any effect at all?
That's a good question. I really don't know, man. And it's not really my element. I don't play into a lot of that stuff. I actually try to distance myself from that more than anything. I'm just very respectful, I think, not only for Izzy, but his camp and, what Israel's done in his career. I don't know. I just don't really get into that whole like trash talk back and forth and trying to get in each other's head. And will it work? It could, and it definitely could backfire as well. But as a coach, like, my feeling is it's not my job to sell the fight or promote the fight. It's my job to try to execute a great game plan and go get a win. So however these two want to go back and forth and, say whatever they want about each other, that's on them, man. But at the end of the day, no matter what happens after that fight, I hope these two shake each other's hands and show each other some respect, because they both have been, very, very good fighters. They both earned their spots where they're at right now. And, I hope that, we obviously hope we all go out and get that belt. But at the end of the day, man, it's all about respect for me.
How many times have you coached against Eugene Berriman?
I'm not too sure. I know, when Brad fought Izzy, I know that one. I'm not too sure. Like, I don't know. I don't really.
Are you a coach that develops friendly rivalries against other coaches, where maybe you do keep a score, or you just kind of tip the hat, like, all right, you got me this time? Anything like that?
I don't. I really don't. Like, there's obviously, like, you'll know who's coaching them, and you try to think about what their ideologies might be. Like, early in my career, if I knew I was going against Faraz, like, I knew, like, okay, these guys are going to be prepared in these areas, or well prepared here, or this or that. Kraus, even, like, when we go against Kraus, it's like, you knew what you're going to get into, as far as, like, other little details within the dynamics of coaching, right? Tyson Chartier, John Crouch, there's so many great coaches out there, and you kind of know what you're going to get,
Yeah.
you know what you're going to get from their pupils. And, I think for me with Eugene, man, like, I've tried to always study what they do and try to implement what they do really, really well into our game. I think they're great in the feint department, the way that their movement. I've had guys over there go train. They've come back and been like, hey, they run their practices like this, they do this, and you just try to learn. You just really try to learn and put your ego aside. And we do it better, or we do this. No, man, these guys are doing things very, very well over there. And there's guys winning titles for a reason. It's a lot because of the system that they're in. So, but no, I don't like, I'm 3-1 against this coach. I think I've been doing it for so long, I wouldn't remember who the hell I'm cornered against anyway,
I must be petty, but I don't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, but I know I'm 0-1 and Madden at Xtreme Couture.
That's right.
Bothers me.
That's right. That's still on the cork board. I still have it out on the board over there.
The other day, not the other day, about a year ago, have you ever heard of Wayne Rooney, the soccer player?
Yeah.
He got interviewed long form by a guy named, I think it was Gary Neville. And so they sat down in two recliners, and he just kind of wanted to go over some goals with him, like maybe his 50th, his 100th, or whatever, right? And as they were sitting there, he tells them, all right, on this fight, he goes, I already know, and he goes, what do you mean you already know? He goes, you're going to ask me about when we played Brighton, and it was the third goal, it was my 50th. And then he goes, wow. He goes, I remember vividly. He goes, He goes, oh yeah. He goes, all of them. He goes, I'll give you whatever detail. And he goes, all right. So then he started looking at his iPad or something. He goes, what was your 87th goal or something like that? And he goes, oh, we were away at Newcastle and I got the pass. It was incredible. That's why I think sometimes maybe some people are just meticulous about rewriting their stuff or whatever. That's why I was wondering. But anyway, have you ever held pads for Izzy? Just because Vegas is a hub, and I know a lot of fighters sometimes just like to get working, so they'll pop in. But you ever held pads for him?
Nope, never held pads for him. Okay. I'd love to one day. I'm a huge Izzy fan, to be honest with you. Like I love what he does. I think his striking is absolutely beautiful. His distance, I mentioned earlier, his feints. That was something that I always really reveled in. Is Coach Follis used to always talk about the feint game, and he would say the space between the notes is what makes the music, and that was the feints. And you'll see him hit a combination, and then there's 3 or 4 feints, and he collects his data, and then it's on to the next combination. It's like watching a conductor to an orchestra. He's an artist, man, and you got to tip your cap to the guy. He's perfected his craft, and he's a master at what he does.
I want to be respectful of your time. We agreed on 20 minutes. We're at 21, and we bullshitted for 10 before we started. Are you still okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I got EGA at 10 o'clock, so I have about another 5-10 minutes.
Okay. When Strickland trained with Favela, how valuable was that? Do you think something came out of that can transfer to this fight?
Possibly, and I think just moreover for Sean was just I'd say gained a little bit more confidence in the regards of like, hey man, like I know where I'm capable of winning these types of fights. He made a tactical error and he was parrying the hand down and left the hold for the hook, and there's things that like I think Alex kind of told him what he was seeing defensively. And I think that's important because those are things that we've all talked to him about. And those are things that we've asked him to, to mind. Like, hey man, you can't do this over and over because a striker, the caliber of Alex and Izzy will expose that. So, it's nice that when another source that has been in there with him says the same thing and was the one to be able to knock you out with it. Right. And then just going in there and getting working and training with him. And they talked a lot about the Izzy fight and, the way that Alex would approach it or attack and things like that. So I think it was very beneficial. And I love the fact that Sean, was comfortable enough to ask him to come out and train. I thought that was pretty cool of him.
Do you think that KO in a way made him either a better fighter, more mature fighter, or grounded him more in any way? Because we hear it, you learn from a loss, and that's the best thing that ever happened to me. Of course, Goz and I have usually disagreed with it because who wouldn't want to be 30-0, right? But what do you think of that one particular fight? Could that have been like a change in the trajectory of his career?
It could have been, right? And I think that the thing for me as a coach after that loss was I felt like Sean was so disappointed because that was going to be his only opportunity to title fight. But, the landscape of the 185-pound division, fortunately, Izzy's cleaned out the whole division. And I told Sean, I'm like, bro, you're a win or two away from being right back in that position. So I understand right now it hurts. I understand right now you're disappointed. But I'm telling you, man, we can go out and reel off 2 more wins and we're going to be right back in the spot. And he believed it. He understood that. And now here we are. Like he's a man of opportunity. What I am proud of him about is, he got right back in the gym. He got right back into training. He even, when we lost to Pereira, hey man, you're right. I should have gone in and followed the game plan. Like we'd still joke to this day. I was joking with him on Wednesday. Like he's literally hitting the apron, walking out at T-Mobile, looks back at me and goes, tell me when it's halfway. That's when I'll shoot. I'm like, oh, bro, like you got to listen, man. I'm telling you. And then, when he lost to Cannonier, he felt like he won the fight. Well, I was explaining to him, I was like, man, you're losing on the optics. That's I know what you're saying. I feel like I understand what you mean that you're winning the fight, but we were losing on the optics. And explaining that him actually in between 2 different rounds, like, hey, I need more of this because the way that it's going to look is going to be better for these judges. And, it was Sunday. He called me right when I was heading to California and he's like, hey, now I really understand what you mean by the optics, so it's taken a couple lumps here and there. I think that he trusts myself and Danny and Chris and, Alex and all the guys that are in his corner more and more every fight out. But, this is the time you're going to have to trust us the most, bro, because we have the most on the line right now.
Yeah, and the last fight I want to talk about, Maria Favela. Very nice to see the teammates giving her a shout out through the last few months, and we've seen that she's been making some progression. Can you talk about how maybe that hit you? Because obviously you're a leader there. You're an OG, a founder. You know what I mean? So you've seen a
Yeah.
lot of life, how it affects fighters. But this is obviously a different type of fight we're talking about.
Yeah, you guys are gonna get me teared up. She was in the gym on Monday, and it's so cool to have her back in the room. But I brought her up to the front, gave her a big old hug. We right after practice, and we just spoke to the team. And I wanted to, say it in front of her, but I wanted to say it in front of the team, like, Maria taught me a lot during this time, and it was a lot about gratitude, and it was a lot about perspective. There was days when you show up to the gym and you'd be tired, and you would think about all the reasons why you didn't want to be there, you're this or that, and then immediately, like, Maria would come in my head. I'm like, you know what, Maria would want us to work hard, because today she's working hard and she would like to be on these mats rather than going through chemo.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of like different things that would run through my head right away, and it would check me. And it was unfortunate that it takes a teammate to be in a position that she was in for us to think about our lives and our perspective and the way we carry ourselves day to day. And I thanked her. I was like, you're going through a battle that we don't really understand, right? Like not a lot of us do. Tatiana, I think, was the only one in the gym that had been through the cancer and had to work and do those things. But for the most part, it was just something, I think, for me, that I really appreciated, the fact that, just the way she carried herself, the way she handled the situation. And she gave us all hope, I think, when it came to, just biting down and getting through this stuff, man. And it was emotional. It was emotional for all of us, for her going through the way she had to go through all this, the way she found out. But more importantly, I was so proud of the team, the way we all rallied together, man. Every one of our fighters, they want to fight. They brought up Maria, because we carried her, and we carried her spirit in our heart.
Yeah, Hodgkin's lymphoma, if I'm not mistaken. She's a survivor, and that's great to see her posting back in the gym. And like I say, I know it meant a lot to you all, because so many people on social media and after the fights are going out of their way to wish her the best. And I thought that was great team camaraderie. All right, I know you got to get going. You got Dan Ige coming up here. So thank you, as always, for the time. We wish you the best of luck with Coach of the Year. Guys, get in there and vote, no matter who. I'm sure he'll agree. As long as he votes, the most important thing. But hey, if you think Eric got down this year, give him your vote, because like I say, he puts in the work. Thanks, Eric, for the time.
Hey, I wanted to say something. I appreciate you guys more than anything, because you guys helped me become in this position that I'm at today. You guys have always believed in me early. Means a lot. It was funny because I was in Salt Lake, and for somehow, some way, the three of us, the three amigos, me, Masvidal, and Derek Lewis, are always together. We always have a good chuckle. That JBLE family reunion. But it was really, man, you guys helped me propel, leap into the position I'm at today. I love you both, and I appreciate you guys and all your support over the years.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. We love you too, man. We love the Xtreme Couture family. So anyway, we appreciate the kind words. Take care, Eric. We'll see you soon. We'll
I'll get a USC hat for next time.